What's going on, guys? Today we're recording part 3 of 3 of this Eton Viper 70 project. And in the last video you saw me finish up putting on this fuel shutoff valve. And today we're going to be putting on this chain tensioner, chain, and all those other parts right there. And guys, today we're also going to be putting on that sprocket, obviously, because we have the chain. So we're going to have to remove this rear wheel. Alright guys, we got all the hardware off. Now all we got to do is slide this rear wheel off and then pop that sprocket back on. Guys, so we just take this, tie this on, line up the holes. Just like that, and then you take each of these 4 nuts, tighten them up. I believe they're 16mm on this 4-wheeler. Alright guys, as you see, I am a couple links short, even though I ordered the exact chain for this model 4-wheeler. I guess for now, I'm just going to have to figure something else out later. But for now, I'm going to move on to the chain tensioner bolt. Alrighty guys, anyways, next package. Alright, so what was in those 2 packages ended up being for my other 4-wheeler, my Yamaha Timberwolf. Anyways, let's open up this box. Alright guys, from that box ended up being my clutch cover gasket and my belt, so we're going to slap those 2 on quick. As you guys may or may not have known, I repainted the clutch cover, the kickstarter, and this brake lever because they were all originally black, but the paint was wore off really bad, and I just happened to have some black spray paint. So yeah, I painted those up. But anyways, we got to get this clutch off, slap the belt on, then put the new gasket on. And we're going to put all the screws back on, and then we're going to run the next package. So guys, I actually totally forgot about the camera, but I got these new front wheel bearings replaced. So now all I gotta do is try again on that chain and this drive belt, and then just gotta get this transmission gasket on, and I'll get back with you guys when I figure out those 2 things. But before I do that, I'm gonna go over all the things I've replaced so far. So obviously the front wheel bearings, choke lever, air box, and rebuilt the carburetor, new fuel petcock, and new tail lights. And then, like I said, I got to figure out that chain drive belt and then put on that gasket. And then I believe after that, all I got is the starter and the seat cover. So, yeah, like I said, I'll get back with you guys when I figure out the drive belt and the chain. What's up, guys? Today we're back with the Eton Viper 70 again. It's been about a couple weeks since I've seen the Eton Viper 70. Today, we're going to be putting on the seat cover. And I believe our starter and our ignition should be coming today. Now this is the only stapler I got. It's probably going to be a little bit hard, but we're going to try to do that. This is what the seat cover looks like. It's just an all black seat cover. Now looking at it, I honestly don't know if it's going to fit that, but we're going to try it anyways. Alright guys, so it looks like it probably will fit, but I'm not going to be able to record it because I need 2 hands, but I'll just show you guys the finished product when I'm all done. Alright guys, so I tried putting the seat cover on with that stapler I showed you, and I was not able to. I think my grandfather has one I could borrow, but for now we're going to slap in the ignition. It just arrived. Alright guys, ignition's in. And I just have to charge up the battery because I left the key on before I replaced the ignition, and the battery's dead. So I'm going to catch you guys when the battery's charged up, and I got a stapler for that seat cover. Alright guys, I have the seat cover on. I know it's not the best job, but this is the first time I've ever put a seat cover on, so I think I did pretty decent for my first time. Now all we got to do is wait for that starter to arrive, and we're going to slap that in there and see if it runs. We don't have the drive belt or the chain yet, but it'll still run. It just can't, obviously, just can't drive it yet. Alright guys, so let me turn the light on here. Okay, so I'm in the dark right now, but anyways, I'm giving you guys a little update on this Eton Viper 70. So it's actually been about 3 months since I have looked at this thing, and well, I've been working on it the last few months, but it's been a while since I've recorded it, so I'm going to give you guys a little update today. So basically, a problem I've been having with this is it does not spark with the electric start. Well, it sparks for about a couple seconds, and then it just doesn't work. For a long time, I thought it was the rectifier diode wired up to the solenoid. What the diode does is it makes sure current only goes one way, and if it kicks back the other way, like if the diode is bad, typically either electricity fires back to the CDI, which will cause the spark to not work correctly, or it won't work at all, which in this case it didn't work at all. I replaced it, And Electric Start worked, but it didn't spark right. See you guys here in 1 second. Alright guys, so there you go. I got the phone or the light going. So basically right now I have the booster pack hooked up to it. Electric Start works, right? But if you come down here to the spark plug, well, right now I don't have the CDI hooked up, but basically what would happen, it was only spark for about the first 2 seconds, and then it would quit. Alright, so I got this hooked up now. Now I just need to put these 2 wires on the coil, ignition coil that is. Now you'll see spark. It only does it for 1 second. My multimeter and stick it in those 2 wires, it shows me that it's only getting about 3 volts for about 2 seconds, and then it's getting nothing. So what that tells me is it's either this CDI is bad or my stator is bad, which is causing it to not get the correct amount of voltage to the coil right here. I already rolled out the spark plug. It's got a new spark plug in it, and I also changed out the coil, and it still did the same thing. Alright, so as you guys see right there, it's hooked up. This is hooked up to the wires that go to the coil right now, by the way. See, it's not getting the correct amount of voltage to the coil, which at the beginning I thought it was getting too much because of that diode was bad. So I've been screwing with that wiring, and it hasn't made a difference. So I came here, and I picked up this multimeter and did this, and now this is telling me that something else is bad. Now what I was going to do was test the wires that go from this coil, or go from the wires go to the CDI and then go to the coil. Try to test the CDI, because if it was getting the correct amount of voltage to the CDI but not to the coil, that's telling me that the CDI is bad, but I couldn't get in there to test that. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and buy one of these CDIs. They're only about 25 bucks on Amazon. They're cheaper ones. They're not OEM, but I think I'm going to try that. And if it doesn't work, then I know for sure that it is the stator causing it not to get a correct amount of spark. So yeah, I mean, that's the main update here. I have this thing all tore down right now. I actually completely rewired it, and it has a different solenoid on it. This is your positive wire. This is your wire that goes to your starter, and then right there's your start button. Before it was a 4-prong solenoid. Right here's the actually the safety switch where you pull the brake. But that sensor actually went bad. So I have it wired up to this button right here for now. You can see when I push that, it engages the tail lights, the brake lights. But anyways, so yeah, I got that wired up. You can see it works. It's just that other electrical issue I have there. But see, I'm actually going to try something. I am going to hold this down and see if I get the correct amount of voltage, because being as that is not hooked up, without me holding it down, it might not get the correct amount of voltage. So right here is the multimeter, and I'm going to hold the button and press start run. Nope, does the same thing. But the weird thing was, if you held in the brake and kick-started it, it would start, but then it just would not start with that electric start. So that's what led me to think it was the diode and the wiring with the solenoid. But I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on with this thing right now, because I just thought about that. If it works with the Kickstarter but not the starter solenoid, I'm not exactly sure what would be going on with this thing. I'm going to do a little bit more research and a little bit more thinking on my own time. But anyways, I'm going to just give you guys a good old look over of this. I believe I showed you guys the whole list of new parts I put on. I had about $400 in parts. It still does not have an ignition switch because I ordered 2 different ones, and both of them didn't work. Like, it would just ground out, and I tried rewiring the ignition, and it still did not work. So I'm going to have to look some more for ignition switch, but for now I just have it overrided, and I have a booster pack hooked up because this little battery went bad. But Yeah, so that's basically the update with this 2005 e-tone Viper 72 stroke. At one point, it had a lot of compression. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on with it. I did some research. It said that the valves were all carboned up, but then one day it just quit. Like, it quit having high compression. Like, I could barely kick it over. I mean, the spark plug isn't in right now, but I could barely kick it over right now. I can kick it over fine, even with the spark plug in. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what was going on there, but, yeah, I had this running at one point, but you had to hold in the brake and you had to kickstart it, and it would start up an idle, but it wouldn't even rev out correctly, which still leads me to think that it was not sparking correctly, because it was not a fuel issue, because I just, a little while ago, cleaned and rebuilt that carburetor, and it has a new fuel valve, and it has new fuel line, and it has brand new fuel on it. So I do not think it was a fuel issue, and the carburetor was perfectly fine back when it ran good, and I have not touched the tuning, so I don't think it's a fuel issue. I think even when you had it kick-started, it would still have a sparking issue. So, yeah, that's the update. That's pretty much it. But for now, I think that's what I'm going to do is buy a new CDI, and I'm going to get back with you guys probably whenever I have that CDI in, and we're going to plug that in and try that new one. Alright, guys, I'm back with the e-tone Viper 70 build. It runs now. I got it running. It has the new CDI in there. You can see it. It runs, it drives, it revs out good, so it doesn't have any more spark issues. Knock on wood here. Now all I'm waiting on is this ignition switch because I've been bypassing it. But I have an ignition switch ordered because I've ordered multiple in the past and they didn't work because they weren't wired correctly, and I tried to rewire them and it still don't work. This one has great reviews and says it works good, so yeah, we're gonna wait on that. That's supposed to come in about a week, 5 to 7 days, something like that. So yeah, I will probably record me hooking that up and taking it for a short little ride just to show you guys. It runs good, revs out, starts up. Doesn't start the easiest, but I mean, it hasn't been run much in like 6 months, so that kind of makes sense. I have it on the trickle charger right now because the battery is basically jumped, but I'm trying to get the most juice out of it as I can. I do have a booster pack I can use, but yeah, so I had to put grease on that air box because it was leaking a little bit, like gas was leaking out for some reason. So I put a little bit of grease on it, and it's just fine now. So I honestly don't think I include this, but I had to put new wire ends on these wires for the battery because all 3 of them broke right off. That one's for the fuse, that one's, you know, for the main circuit, and then that's your ground over there. And I also didn't tell you guys this, but this brake sensor broke. So basically what I did was, for a while I had a little button wired up to it because I didn't know if I still had to have the button pressed to get spark because I was having issues. So I just wired this up. The button worked, but it didn't make a difference. So yeah. So I just got them wired up to each other, bypassed, whatever you want to call it. Because what this green wire does, that's the safety switch wire. That's what is connected to the switch up here. And then this brown wire sends juice to everything else on the forwarder to tell it that it can work. But when juice is not sent through this green wire, it's not getting sent to this brown wire, which therefore doesn't let anything happen, like electric start. But if you have them wired together, as soon as you turn this thing on, the taillights are on, so it sends juice to the rest of the four-wheeler. So, yeah, I was kind of looking around for handbrake sensors because I kind of wanted it to be there, but I couldn't find one for this model. I found one for other, like, small Polaris four-wheelers and, like, bicycles and stuff. I might look around some more, keep an eye out, see if I can find one that would work, but that's not something that I'm super worried about, but so yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys when I'm replacing this ignition switch in 5 to 7 days. So yeah, once I get the ignition switch, hopefully everything works great. I can just do another test ride and make sure everything's going to work well, then give it a good pressure wash and get it ready to sell.